Officially, we represent a complex number as a plus I times b, and as you remember, I is equal to square root of -1. So we are introducing some new numbers, am I right? These are some new numbers, and we expect to add, subtract, multiply, and divide them. Addition for complex numbers. If I ask you to add a plus ib and c plus id, what are you going to do? You're going to add the real parts together. These are real parts. And then you're going to add the imaginary parts. These two are called imaginary parts. For example, let's take a look at our note. Suppose I ask you to add the following together. Add these two numbers. The very first number is 4 plus 4i, 4i4, and I add this guy to another number 1 minus 6i. So guys, it doesn't matter if you write I in front of b or you switch it around, b times I. They have the same meaning, but this is the real part, and this part that has I in it is the imaginary part. So when I ask you to add these two numbers, what I'm going to do, you're going to basically add the real parts, 5, and then you're going to add the imaginary parts. 4 apple minus 6 apples gives you -2 apples. So this is the result of this addition. Another example. So suppose I ask you to add the following. Add 1 plus 2i and 3 minus 2i. So again, we are adding the real parts together. We are adding the imaginary parts together. So 1 plus 3, which is 4, plus 2i minus 2i, it disappears, am I right? It becomes 0, plus 0, or 4. We added two complex numbers together. The result is a complex number. We added two complex numbers together. The result is a real number. Let's take a look at another example for you. In this example, I ask you to add the following. Add 3i and -2 plus 3i. Very good. So what is the real part? The only real part that you see is -2. So you have a -2. Then you're going to add the imaginary parts, which is 3i plus 3i, or 6i. Again, I is the square root of -1, imaginary unit. So if I ask you to write it in terms of square root of -1, you can just replace it here. But for simplicity, we're using I.